Good morning, Samriddhi. Good morning, Bharat. Am I audible?
Good morning, sir. Yes, you're audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Yesterday, there was power cut in the end. We were discussing about during 1970s and 80s, there was a so they were talking about it's not the feudalism. In fact, that land grants, instead of weakening central authority, it has created a new kind of political system. It is the new kind of political system which helped Indian subcontinent to knit together, and as a result, new powerful states emerged. New powerful states emerged, like Pallavas, Chalukyas, after that Rashtrakutas, and after that Cholas. Cholas were the first Indian power which reached even Southeast Asia also. So to such a level, the power has grown. So that is the evidence this revisionist historians try to identify. These are with respect to Gupta period, whether it is a golden period or not. So these are the various debates, evolution of thought, and which context it was developed, and now how it was gradually changing. But from the historical now the present day, 21st century, history is all about to know the truth, rational truth. Earlier, epics, Ramayana, Mahabharata were taken as history. Puranas were taken as history. But that cannot be taken as history because history means there is myths and stories. Any person can write any book, but it has to be substantiated with other contemporary source also. Now in 21st century, since 20th century, we have additional source, that is archaeological source. That's why history is a continuous process. It will go on. Nothing is static. The way we see our past also will change as the time changes. With respect to Gupta is also one such example. All right. This is the first topic which we need to understand with respect to Gupta period. Next topic is sources. As usual, we have two sources. One is literary source. Another one, archaeological sources. We have literary sources and archaeological sources. So from 300 CE to 600 CE, whatever was available, we can identify. For example, when it comes to archaeological sources, we have inscriptions. We have inscriptions. These inscriptions, it is important to know that it is not only about Gupta period. Like in case of Mauryan history, we were depending on like foreign sources like Megasthenes Indica, something like that, contemporary people. So in case of Mauryan period, Greeks, then post-Mauryan Roman world. Similarly, during Gupta time period also, we have different people like Vakatakas, they were contemporaries. There were something called Kadambas. Next, Hunas. Now you see a new term is emerging, Hunas. And Hunas, these are like new Central Asian tribes. And they went to this side also. And in fact, these Hunas were responsible for the decline of Roman Empire also. They used to continuously attack the Roman Empire. Now, based on this evidence, with respect to Hunas, there is no dispute whether there was a movement or not. There is no dispute because in Roman account, Persian accounts, in Indian accounts, they are mentioned. They also, when they become the ruler stabler, and they also mentioned Kushanas, there is no dispute whether they came or not. Turks, later after Hunas, Turks will come. There is no dispute. Mughals, there is no dispute. Mongols, there is no dispute. But when it comes to Aryans, there is no such clear-cut evidence. That's why debate started. But based on, after our Aryans, based on these many migrations, and it is the possible migration. Migration is a very natural one. That's why it might have been there. So people are trying to even, this is a continuous research. As long as we won't get 100% satisfactory answers, historians and archaeologists will keep on trying their best to unearth the questions. In this context, Hunas also like that. Vakatakas, Kadambas, Hunas, Varmans. There are different people like Varmans here also. Varman has become something very interesting phenomena at this point of time. By Gupta time period, different type of people emerged. Now, Varna system, early Vedic time period, there is a early Vedic period, liberal. When Indian system is there, when Rigveda established here, it was liberal. Now, when it comes to Gangetic Valley, later Vedic period, it became rigid Varna system. At least in Sanskrit books, it is rigid. But in reality, that is not rigid. If it is so rigid, then why Mauryans become rulers? Mauryans and Nandas were considered as the Shudras, according to Puranas. That's why, even though at least in Sanskrit works, it became very rigid. Early Vedic, later Vedic. Then, post-Mauryan period. Again, it talks about Varna Sankara. Sanskrit works talk about Varna Sankara. That itself is an indication that society mixing is taking place. Just a second. This Varna Sankara is taking place means that itself is an indication that integration was going on. By Gupta period, this mixing will continue. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, foreign, then tribal integration. It will go on. A different kind of titles emerged by this time. Different kind of titles. What these titles? Sharma title emerged. That is an indication of Brahmanas. Then Varma. That is an indication of Kshatriya. So if someone is having Bhaskara, then if you add Bhaskara Sharma, then that name itself indication of Bhaskara belongs to Brahmana Varna. Brahmana Bhaskara Varman, then indication of Kshatriya. Then Gupta. That's why the name Gupta itself indication of Vaishya, Samudra Gupta, Chandra Gupta, like that. Next, Dasa, Sudra. So different naming convention also emerged by this time period. And it also shows now there were Varmans in Northeast as well. Now what it indicates? The Sanskrit ideas penetrated in Northeast also. You remember? Davozeli heading. Davozeli heading 1000 BC. It is the Neolithic site. 1000 BC Neolithic. On the other hand, Mehergarh 7000 BC. Now you see, in 7000 BC, agriculture started. That's why after 7000, Indus Valley civilization, Rigvedic, then later Vedic, many developments are taking place. Early agriculture settlement. Now it takes a little bit time. 1000 BC, agriculture, hunting, gathering, then up to 1000 BC, hunting, gathering, after 1000 BC, agriculture started. Gradually, it takes some time to see similar kind of phenomena, whatever was taking place in the west side, northwest side. It takes some time in the northeast. By this time, even percolated deep down also. We have seen already in Sangam. This Varna also there in Sangam also. But even though that classification ecological more. By this time, different rulers called Varmans also emerged. Vakatakas, Kadambas, Varmans. These were also in their history. When they were having their own biography or the history of the dynasty, they referred Guptas also. In that way, we know some details about Guptas as well in their inscriptions. So, these copper plate inscriptions mention about Guptas. Second one, something called Prashastis. Prashasti means praisings, greatness. So rulers used to have some poets, and the poets used to highlight their success. And even in movies also, we used to see that whenever king walks, then there will be some kind of some people will be there who used to praise the king, like he is equal to sun, he's a universal monarch. They used to praise. Those are called prashastis. This kind of inscriptions. Next one, many royal grants, land grants. They highlight who are the different rulers who donated, for which cause they have donated. That highlighted Gupta. And donative inscriptions. When land is donated, royal land grants. When normal donative inscriptions, and they also highlight if somebody, it could be some copper plate inscription, it could be, if it is a monument, on that monument they mention which person, so and so person donated to so and so people during this time period, they mention about that. Donative inscriptions to religious cause, some information comes from there. Next one, coins and seals. Coins and seals. Guptas have given gold coins, silver coins. Gold coins were called dinaras. Gold coins were called dinaras. It is depending on the name. Dinaras comes from Roman word. At that time, Roman Empire was very flourishing. When it was flourishing, they have given a currency. It was something called Roman deniaris. So this is the term. You need not worry about this. Just for reference, I am giving. It's like DENARIUS. This is the Roman name for these coins. And based on that, dinaras emerged. These are gold coins they give. And on these gold coins, names of the kings, dates, images, their titles, their conquests, their rituals, their symbols. So much information comes from them. And these are Gupta gold coins. Now, similarly, Vakatakas also issued, Nagas also issued, the contemporary people were also issued. Now, let me highlight here. Coins and seals. The really interesting fact about history as an optional and the difference between GS student and optional student comes from these sources only. From the GS studies point of view, from general studies, you don't require these many sources. Just whatever story you know, like a political system, administrative system and all. But for history optional, the more you substantiate with the historian names and archaeological evidence, the better you keep getting the scores. These coins and seals, at this point of time, there were so many contemporary, like already we have seen Kadambas. Kadambas means Karnataka. Vakatakas, Maharashtra. In Andhra side also, Ikshwakus, Vishnu Kundins, then Nagas. So they also issued coins. And with this contemporary coins, it is useful for the comparison. In Nagpur, so many coins were identified in many places. Romtech. Next, some seals identified in places like Nalanda, Vaishali, Basar, seals. Next, beta. Beta is a place near Raebareli. Beta seal and sealings. Royal seal. So already you got Nalanda, Vaishali, Beta, Ramtek near Nagpur. These are the coins. Next, with respect to inscriptions, you can have this also in terms of inscriptions. Some important inscriptions of this time period. There is a place here, Mansar. Mansar inscription. In this location, Madhya Pradesh. Mansar inscription. Next, Iran inscription. Mansar inscription, Iran inscription. Junagadh inscription. Next, Prayagraj inscription of Skanda of Samudragupta. Junagadh inscription, Skanda Gupta. Mansar inscription of a guild. Then Iran inscription of 510 CE, Sati practice. So these are some of the inscriptions. As we study about individual rulers, we get some more inscriptions. You keep adding to that. That's how. Next one. These are some coins and sealings. Next source is some monuments. Some monuments like Udayagiri caves. Some temples like Bhitargaon temple in Madhya Pradesh. Some temples were there, Shiva temples, Vishnu temple, Diogad temple. That is one source. Monuments. Suppose monuments means, now I'm going here, monuments. Always better to represent in map format. You will remember in one go many places. For example, here in Madhya Pradesh, Udayagiri. This is one. Diyogat temple, Bhitargaon temple in Madhya Pradesh, Nachna temple. Next, Dhamek Stupa near Sarnath. It is an indication of Udaygiri caves, Varaha avatar. Diyogad Dashavatara temple, Shiva temple. So how religious? Next, Dhamek Stupa, Buddhism. Next, Ajanta caves, Buddhist paintings. Indication of tolerance policy. Next, Mehrauli iron pillar. It's an indication of metallurgy. Now you can see social, economic, political. That was the question. You remember? Yesterday I have given you the questions. One question I will post here. This is the first question which we have. I'm posting in chat box. Examine the information of Fahian about the political, religious, social, economic conditions of India. Make a comparative study of his account with Huyan Sang. This one. Now this was already asked. And you just replace with examine information of Gupta period with various sources. Then in that political, religious, social, economic conditions. All will come. One by one, you just need to highlight archaeological sources, literary sources. In archaeology, through inscriptions, what are they? Through coins and seals, what information we get? Then with the monuments, what type of information we get? So every time when you show different places, this is map is one area, one way of representing. There is another way of representing also. Say like if you are not having space, enough space, this is another way of representing when you have multiple facts. Make a table. Make a table. And in that you just mention, say like monuments. Ajanta caves. Paintings. Information about Buddhism. You can make a table like this. The place, monument, and historical significance. This is presentation. And this is one. Next you give like Mehrauli to Mehrauli iron pillar. It provides information about metallurgy progress during Gupta time period. It also have the name Chandra. So it is an indication of Chandragupta II. So that is Chandragupta II inscription. Next, third one. Dhamek Stupa is there. Indication of Buddhism spread. Next, what else we have? Temples. Say like the Yogad temple, Vishnu temple. So worship of Vishnu. So this is another way. One is map, another one is table. Another way of representing in the examination when you have multiple, particularly when there is a time period. This line. For example, in Chandragupta 1, just I am talking about the sources only, then you can apply this for other aspects as well. Suppose Chandragupta 1, when you are talking about sources, Chandragupta, we have coins where images of Chandragupta 1 and Kumara Devi printed. Next, Samudragupta. When Samudragupta comes, he issued coins also. He issued inscriptions also. Coins like he was playing Veena, Ashwamedha sacrifice, inscriptions, Prayagraj, inscription. Next, Chandragupta 2. Likewise, you can mention Navaratnas, Mehrauli iron pillar, silver coins. In this way, you can, when it comes to timeline, first Chandragupta 1 information, Samudragupta 2. But you have to write a paragraph point format. In between, it's not that entire answer should be filled with this. It has to be very natural. Keep on explaining paragraph by paragraph. In the middle, you keep representing these way of presentations. Then that gives a beauty to the answer. And also, it shows in single image so much information. And if you have like that one map, one table, one line like that, then overall answer looks very beautiful. Sometimes examiner also immediately, whenever there is a map and tables, immediately mind goes there only. It will attract. Then once they get to know that when you are able to put this much information in that small space, then they need not to even read line by line also. They will get a conclusion that, yes, you know this answer very well. These are various ways of presentation. So monuments, and when we are discussing about different aspects, economy, society, and religion, you will get some more. You just keep adding to this. This is about archaeological sources. So far clear? Bharat, Samriddhi? Then we are moving to literary sources. All right. Next one. Literary source. Literary sources. We have number 1. Sanskrit sources. So much Sanskrit sources between 300 to 600 CE. Smritis. Smritis are there like Narada Smriti, Vishnu Smriti, Brihaspati Smriti, Katyayana Smriti. Katyayana Smriti. So these are Smriti literature. Next one. Niti Sara of Kamandaka. So they provide information about administration, judiciary, laws, social laws, property laws. Likewise, Niti Sara, Kamandaka. It is like Ardhashastra. And already by this time, Manusmriti is there. Manusmriti, Yajnavalkya Smriti. They are already there in post-Mauryan period. Now you add to this. Sometime question will come in the first chapter, sources chapter. Explain how various literary sources to understand ancient history. Then you have to track about in Gupta time period, you give this example, post-Mauryan, you give these examples, Mauryans, post-Mauryans, then post-Gupta, and so on. Many will come. Smritis. Next one. There is Sanskrit source. These are Brahmanical. Even Buddhist religion also, for example, here in post-Mauryan time period, what is there? Can you give me one example where in post-Mauryan period Sanskrit was used for writing history of Buddha? Who wrote history of Buddha? Sanskrit was used. Ashwagosha, very good. What is the book name? Buddha Charita, very good. That is a Sanskrit word. Now same goes this time period also. Sanskrit is becoming a very linked language. In Brahmanical text, Puranas, epics, they were also written. Next in Buddhist, Manjushri. Manjushri, Moola Kalpa. Likewise, next, so many such texts were there. Now I am writing one by one. Jainism, Harivamsha, Purana. This is 8th century, but they will give information about the past. So something like Vishakhadatta has written 2 books. Vishakhadatta, remember Vishakhadatta? He wrote 2 books. One is on Mauryan history. That is Mudra Rakshasa. Another one is Gupta history. Devi Chandraguptam. Like a person belong to Gupta period writing history of Mauryan history. Likewise, the people who write later in 8th century, 10th century, they used to write about Mauryans, Guptas. And one more example like Hemachandra. Parisishta Parvan. He has written in 11th and 12th centuries, but he was writing about Mauryan history. Mauryan history means he referred to Chandragupta Maurya, Sallekana, Shravanabelagola. That's how historians reconstruct. People write a textbook or book later that refers to the previous past. And same is going to happen during for Guptas also. For Gupta history also, the people who have written something later, they refer to Gupta period. Next one, Bhoja. Bhoja was a ruler. He was known for Paramara Bhoja. He wrote a book called Sringara Prakasha. It mentions about the political history of Guptas. Next one, Khada Saris Sagara by Somadeva. Somadeva, 11th century. He is in Kashmir and he writes, Kada Sarit Sagara. Now you can see it's an indication, 11th century, a person in 11th century writing about Guptas. It is something like today also. Suppose we are in 21st century, if some person properly do research only on Guptas, for example, only one book is written, let's say like 500 pages or 1000 pages in 21st century. Now, if it survives, after 1000 years, people will consider 21st century book also to understand Gupta history. That is how every century, and also this is the reason why Indian history is surviving. Indian history surviving. And there was a debate, British used to tell that Indians don't have any sense of writing history. And this is a counter to them. If there is no sense of history for Indians, then why would they do like this? Somebody is writing about Mauryans in the form of Mudra Rakshasa. It's a kind of history. It may not be like Herodotus. The Greek way of visualization is different, and the Indian way of visualization is different. Everyone will have their own way of recording their own histories. That's where Romila Thapar also is to explain ancient have sense of history, but you cannot, the Europeans cannot judge how Asians or Indians are recording their history. So there was a question also for us in sources we have discussed. It is the Indian historiography is the beginning happens during the Arab time period only, not before that. But it is not the case. Then what about all these things? We are reconstructing the history from all these. So this is how Indian way of historiography is unique in its own way. Kada Sarisagara, this is a book. Next one. Other books like, and there are so many like Kalidasa works. Even though they are writing about various themes, but the social conditions they talk about during Gupta time period only. Next, Amara Simha. He wrote Amara Kosha. This gives some information. Next, Kama Sutra. It is also a book written during this time period. It gives socio-cultural practices of this time period. of this time period. So in this way, so overall, if question is about Gupta period, Indian history. During Gupta period, how India was there? How India was there during Gupta time period means, imagine, the wording is very important. That is Indian history, not only about Gupta history. The Guptas directly they have ruled like this, Gupta Empire. If question is about Gupta history, that means we are talking about this land. But if question is about Indian history, that means the Gupta Empire information, and what about this information? What about this area? And what about this area? What about this area? Indian history during Gupta time period. That means from 300 to say like 600 CE. This is very broad, but to be specific, say like 319 to 550 CE. Gupta period, Indian history. So in this period, what is happening here? What is happening here? What is happening here? Here also we need to highlight. That's why not only the people who are writing about Gupta Empire, but the people who are writing about South Indian history, Vakatakas, Ikshwaku, Vishnukundins, small kingdoms, and whatever source is available for us in Northeast, also we need to highlight. In that context, in South, after Sangam text like Pattupatu, Ettutokai, Tolkapiyam. These are Sangam text. That means the Sangam age, 300 BC to 300 CE. After 300 CE, the extension or the continuation of the Sangam age was written after 300 CE. Silappadikaram. Silappadikaram, Manimekhalai. And they give good information about 5th and 6th century South India. That is another information. Now, if you want to know about the deep South history or Tamil history, means in Sangam period we know information from these sources. After Sangam period we know information about from these texts. So that's why combinedly we call Tamil literature. But within Tamil literature, we have Sangam literature. That means the literature developed during Sangam time period, and post-Sangam literature. That's where Silappadikaram and Manimekhalai. So generally we used to get confusion. This Silappadikaram and Manimekhalai also part of Sangam literature. We used to generally consider. But this is how it developed. It did not develop within Sangam period only, it developed. But story, they are going to talk about Sangam Cholas, Sangam Cheras. And that's where it gives the confusion. We used to think that it is also part of Sangam literature. So likewise, this is another source of information we have. Now, when we discuss about different individual things, so you will get some more aspects as well. These are the various literary sources. Now you see so many So many facts came. These are very, very important for prelims point of view also. In mains, if you quote as many and be like very natural, when you are giving a point like administration, judicial, as per the Smritis developed during Gupta time period, like Narada Smriti, even you need not to write about everything also. You will not have space also, time also. At least if you bring few names, that itself gives a huge weightage. Literary source, we have done. Next, foreign sources. In this sources, we have Indian and foreign. So when something question is related to sources, just to make this mind map. So this is you consider mind map. So total how many types you have present presentation? One is map, mind map, table, chronology line. So keep remembering in different answers. You can use, it's not compulsory that you have to use everything in single answer. In one answer, you use map and mind map. In some other answer, you use table. In some other answer, chronology. In some other answer, if you have space, 20 marks, then you use everything. So depending on it, you keep using these styles of presentation. Next one, foreign sources. Between between 3rd to 8th centuries, Chinese monks traveled India and they refer to Gupta period, post Gupta period also, and we get some information about Gupta also. Important people, Fahian. There are different spellings. You have multiple spellings. Fahian, X also you will use. That's why even present day Chinese president, his name is like this. And when they are pronouncing it, Xi, they call Xi Jinping. Like that, Fahian, Fashian. So different pronunciations will be there. Next one, Huyan Song. There is another one, Huan Song. This also you will write. Next, Ait Singh. Hizing. These are the 3 people. Fahian comes in Chandragupta 2 period. Harsha during Harshavardhana time period, Huyan Song will come. Then post Harsha. And when they refer to Indian society, those social conditions trace back to Gupta period. These are the various foreign sources. Now what they mention? Fahian. Fahyan visited India during Chandragupta II time period. He mentions about different developments during this time period, particularly untouchability, how Chandalas were treated. And he used to say that when Chandalas enter the village, they have to beat a stick so that it's an indication, warning that we are coming into the village, then you ensure you hide. At that time, Smritis and Dharmashastras, they were talking like, if you see Chandala, you will get polluted. If you, even if Vedas are regularly listened or read in a village, if Chandala is there, then Vedas should not be read. As long as Chandala is there, that means that village is not pure. Vedas are very pure texts. You should not impure them. They should live outside. And next, when they are not integrated in main society, means what kind of works they can do? Removing dead bodies, living outside the villages, working with the dead skin of the animals. That's how the society created certain classes of people and treated them inhumanly. That is even today also going on. Ambedkar was also fighting for that. That's how. This is the counterpoint. If it is a golden period, then golden period for whom? Is it for only those who have money? And what about Chandalas, who are not even treated as humans? That is the counterpoint. That's where some people used to ask this question. What is the golden period in the history? And I was listening to even one Pakistani history professor. She was a professor in that podcast. Like in India, there are so many podcasts. People used to bring many professors in podcast. I was listening. That podcast, the person asked the professor, she is a lady, Madam, which period in the history you consider golden period in Pakistani history? Or say like Indian subcontinent history, not only Pakistan history, Indian subcontinent, everywhere. She told one answer. I don't know about the past. She's a history professor only. She told, always, wherever we are living, say like 2024, this is the best time. Because in the past, in the name of religion, in the name of by birth privileges, in the name of ruling monarchy, dictatorship or despotism, when it comes to social, various norms did not allow all sections of the people. So she's a history professor. That's why she will think not only about one person. She thinks about all people. In the past, all people were not given access or privilege to be treated as equal. It could be different societies. It could be different religions, but all were not treated equally. By birth, some were given privileges. Her answer was, it is only now my country or my constitution or Indian subcontinent constitution, at least in principle, there is no discrimination. And there is no bar on women going to schools, education, political. No doubt there are challenges. It's not that all women are able to enter. That's where we are talking about administrative reforms and modern reforms. But at least in principle, no one is considering women inferior. They should be restricted. They should not go out. This kind of, that kind of mindset was there in ancient and medieval. And the time period which I am living is the best time. And even this time also not very best. You have to make it even better. So that is how she used to answer. Now same applies for us also here. So golden period, it was in the context of nationalism, in the context of when British were continuously tarnishing India's image like dark ages. Indian nationalist historians had to counter this narrative. But objectively, if you understand it, it is not golden for everybody. Only rich people, they used to enjoy. But what about the rest of the population? And that's where Whatever times we are living is better times, but we have to make it best with our conduct and with our reforms. This is one information we get from Fahian. The book he has written Fahian. This is the name, difficult name. You have different names. Fahian book. Book of Fahian. Another name is simple, normal version. A record of Buddhist kingdoms. A record of Buddhist kingdoms. And the Chinese name is Fo Go Ki. That was the name. Lisa. Next one. At this point of time, the Western world also integrating or having a connectivity with India. Like Megasthenes has mentioned about the Indian dynasty, at this point of time, this world also connecting. Western accounts. Western accounts. A book called Christian Topography. It was written in 6th century. Christian Topography. This very difficult name written by Cosmos Indigo Lestis. While reading Upinder Singh book only, I come to know about this book. Before that, I don't know. Western account, Christian Topography by Cosmos Indigo Lestis. This is the book, 6th century. He was a merchant. Traveled across world, whatever known world to him, including India. In India, already Saint Thomas, he brought Christianity. He brought Christianity. There is one propitious. There was one more person, Procopius of Caesarea. and he gives information about India and Byzantine Empire relation. These are. And one interesting story I will explain here. Alexander. Now it will connect with modern India also. Because of the writings of these people only, India in the Western world had a different perspective. So always Europeans used to regard India as something very unique place, very interesting place, where wealth, ideas, philosophy, some even miracles also used to happen. Like that they used to believe. In the context of Alexander. So this is how India in the Western world, in the minds of the Westerners about India. Tracing to Greeks. Alexander. How does he know about India? Through Parisians. And that's where Parisians called this and as this is Sindhu River. They called Hindu and they called India like that. Through Parisians they came to know. Alexander, he came to know about his teacher Aristotle. Aristotle came to know about India from his teachers and so on. Now they used to have this kind of imaginary stories, like there are ants in India and they used to dig gold. So that means gold is very easily available in India. Ants dig gold. And they used to believe these are mythical stories. And that's where historians have to differentiate between mythical part and the real part. And they used to consider this is land of India. And also some creatures, mythical creatures, like humans with a horse head, with a dog head. That means animal and human creation. And this kind of, even in Hindu mythology also, Narasimha avatar. Narasimha avatar of Vishnu is a lion, half lion and half human. Likewise, this kind of myths that created interest in Alexander also to reach this mystical land. And that is one of the motivations. He wanted to expand. At the same time, India has a special place to have this kind of stories. Now, this is the story. It promoted Alexander to come to India. After Alexander, Christianity spread. In India, already Christianity came during Saint Thomas period. That shows India is a special significance for Christian followers. Since the beginning, it's not about modern. In the early days of Jesus, Christianity itself, Christianity came to India. So since that time, that means since the time period of Jesus, India has a significant place in the minds of a common Christian also. If there is any chance for the Christian to go and visit the places of divine places of Christianity, means they consider even Saint Thomas tomb in Madras region. It's one of the important places for Christian tourism to visit divine places. As a result of this, some kind of story emerged over a period of time. In Middle times, medieval or Middle Ages, this area became Christian world, western side. In the middle, Islam emerged, and this side, India, this Arab Empire. When there were continuous conflicts between them, they were called crusades. Interesting part is here. When there were continuous crusades, the kingdoms were fearful that one day Islam is going to completely annihilate Christianity, because in the early phases of Islam, they were winning wars like anything. Wherever they are going, they are winning wars. That's how Islam spread very fastly. Within few decades, it reached from that side Mediterranean to Indian Ocean, Indus. And they used to have one belief. They used to believe that there is a mythical kingdom in India. Mythical Christian kingdom in India. It is the best place for a Christian to live. It is something like a Swarga or Narak. When it is a Narak, and then Swarga is there in India. Like that, you just imagine the best place to live. When you have continuous struggles, they used to believe that there is a mythical kingdom. This mythical kingdom is protecting Christianity, and that a Christian ruler will one day save Christianity. So this kind of stories also will be there. And this is what it propelled. These stories continuously propagated since the rise of Arab Empire or Islamic Empire. And these are the ideas in Vasco da Gama in 1498. Vasco da Gama, he reaches India. Portuguese missionaries will reach India. European missionaries will reach India. That's how. It is something like in Himalayas, Shiva is there. Mount Kailash, Shiva is there. In Himalayas, so many gods and goddesses are there. People will go for trekking Himalayas to visit the places where these divine people are there. Gods, goddesses are there. But if you go to Himalayas, from the geographical point of view, you will identify only mountain peaks and valleys. But from the mind, it is the place where gods used to live. So this kind of mythical stories about India, Christians or Europeans used to believe about India. Since the days of Greeks, that means Alexander, this kind of stories. And now in the Middle Ages also, with respect to protecting Christianity, they used to believe there is a mythical kingdom. In search of this mythical kingdom, in search of this mythical kingdom, missionaries, common European travelers used to visit India. And how this kind of narration emerged means because of the continuous connectivity between India and Europe. The times goes back to Greek time period, Roman time period, Byzantine Empire. That Byzantine Empire is the one. During Gupta time period, when Guptas were here, Byzantine Empire was there. And he is the person who has written about relationship between India and Byzantine. And he is the person who has written in details about India. Chinese accounts and Western European accounts also. These are various sources. So today I have clearly explained all the sources. So many facts you got. You got. And tomorrow, your assignment is write this question. I will give you the question. Both of you write this question. You implement even maps, mind maps, those also. This is the question. Examine various sources of information for Gupta dynasty. 20 marks. Big question. 20 marks. properly, right? And once you write this, it will become your model answer. So like that, you write properly. Because once you have good command over sources, then remaining things easy. All right. Today we will stop the class here. Tomorrow we are going to start the political history of Guptas. Both of you clear? Samriddhi, Bharat? All right. See you tomorrow then.